The smell hit Doyen first. It was the sharp, bitter smell of garbage mixed with something else, something wrong. He wrinkled his nose and kept walking through the lower levels of Kelvar Prime Station. This wasn't the nice part where traders showed off their goods. This was where the station threw away what it didn't want. He shouldn't be here. Hari had told him to stay on the ship. But Doyen needed a part for the cooling system, and the only shop that sold it cheap was down here in the maintenance sector. The morning sky wasn't going to fix itself, and they were already behind schedule. The corridor was dim. Half the lights were broken. Doyen's boots echoed on the metal floor as he walked past sealed doors and piles of crates. Somewhere ahead he heard a sound. It was soft and high-pitched. Almost like a whimper. Doyen stopped. He listened. There it was again. He followed the sound around a corner and found himself in a dead-end passage. Waste containers lined the walls, some of them leaking fluids he didn't want to identify. And there, tucked behind a broken crate, was something small and shaking. At first, Doyen thought it was a rat. Stations always had rats, no matter what species ran them. But as he got closer, he realized this was no rat. The creature was about the size of a house cat, with scales that caught the dim light and shimmered in colors between purple and silver. It had a long tail wrapped around its body and a small head with closed eyes. It was dying. Doyen could tell just by looking at it. The creature's breathing was fast and shallow. Its scales, which should have been bright, looked dull and gray. When Doyen knelt down beside it, he could feel heat radiating from its small body. Fever. The thing was burning up. "Hey there," Doyen said softly. He reached out slowly, not wanting to scare it. "You're in bad shape, aren't you?" The creature's eyes opened just a crack. They were golden, with vertical pupils like a cat's. It made that whimpering sound again, weaker this time. Doyen looked around the passage. There was no one else here. Someone had left this creature to die alone in the garbage. The thought made anger burn in his chest. He didn't care what species it was or where it came from. No living thing deserved this. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it carefully around the creature. It was so light, barely any weight at all. Up close, he could see that its scales were beautiful, each one perfectly shaped and reflecting light like tiny mirrors. This wasn't some common pest. This was something special. "Okay, little one," Doyen said, holding the bundle close to his chest. "Let's get you somewhere safe." The walk back to the docks felt longer than usual. Doyen kept the creature hidden under his jacket. Station rules were strict about bringing unregistered organisms on board ships, but he couldn't leave it to die. His conscience wouldn't let him. The morning sky was waiting in Dock 17, right where he'd left it. The ship wasn't big or fancy. It was a standard cargo hauler, 30 years old and showing every day of it. But it was home, and right now it was exactly what Doyen needed. He climbed the ramp and sealed the door behind him. The ship's interior was warm and familiar. Hari was in the cockpit, probably running system checks. Doyen headed straight for his cabin, the creature still wrapped in his jacket. He laid the bundle on his bunk and carefully unwrapped it. In the better light, the creature looked even worse. Its breathing was labored, and its scales had lost almost all their color. Doyen grabbed his datapad and started searching. Xenobiology wasn't his specialty, but he knew the basics. He pulled up medical databases and scrolled through images of known species. Nothing matched. The creature had characteristics of several different species: reptilian scales, mammalian body temperature regulation, avian bone structure. It was like someone had mixed 3 different animals together. "What are you?" Doyen muttered. The creature opened its eyes again and made a soft chirping sound. It was looking at him, really looking at him with an intelligence that surprised him. "Okay," Doyen said. "First things first. We need to get your fever down." He went to the medical locker and found clean cloths. He soaked them in cool water and laid them gently on the creature's body. It flinched at first, then relaxed. Doyen could see its breathing slow just a little. Next was hydration. He didn't know what the creature normally ate or drank, but water was universal. He filled a small bowl and used a dropper to get a few drops into its mouth. The creature swallowed reflexively. "Good," Doyen encouraged. "That's good. Keep fighting." The cabin door slid open. Hari stood there, her arms crossed and her expression annoyed. She was still in her flight suit, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Doyen, we need to..." She stopped. Her eyes went wide. "What is that?" "I found it in the maintenance sector," Doyen said quickly. "Someone abandoned it. It's sick. I couldn't just leave it. Hari stepped closer, staring at the creature. Do you know what it is? No. Do you know where it came from? No. Do you know if it's carrying diseases that could kill us both? Doyen paused. No. Hari pressed her hand to her forehead. Doyen, you can't just bring random aliens onto the ship. There are protocols. Quarantine procedures. We could get fined. We could lose our license. Look at it, Hari, Doyen said quietly. Really look at it. It's just a baby. Someone threw it away like garbage. Hari looked. Her expression softened just a bit. She knelt down next to the bunk and examined the creature more closely. Its scale pattern is unusual. And these bone ridges on its head, I've never seen anything like this. Can you help me figure out what it needs? Hari sighed. It was the sigh she always made when Doyen talked her into something stupid. I'll check the xenobiology archives. But Doyen, if this thing is dangerous or if it's someone's illegal pet, we're taking it to station security. Understood? Understood. Doyen agreed, knowing he probably wouldn't keep that promise. Hari left to search the databases. Doyen stayed with the creature, changing the cool cloths and giving it water every few minutes. Slowly, over the course of an hour, the creature's fever began to drop. Its breathing became easier. The dull gray color of its scales started to return to purple and silver. When the creature opened its eyes fully for the first time, Doyen smiled. Hey there. Feeling better? The creature made a chirping sound and reached out with one tiny clawed hand. It gripped Doyen's finger with surprising strength. Those golden eyes stared at him with clear intelligence and something else. Gratitude, maybe. Or trust. You need a name, Doyen said thoughtfully. Can't just keep calling you creature. How about Tikri? Do you like that? Tikri chirped again, louder this time. Its tail uncurled and wrapped around Doyen's wrist. Doyen didn't know it yet, but in that moment something changed. Something important. The sick creature he'd found in the garbage wasn't just any abandoned animal, and the simple act of saving it would change the course of his life forever. For now, though, Doyen just sat on his bunk, holding a tiny hand in his finger, and felt glad he'd taken the long way back to the ship. Station regulations could wait. Schedules could wait. Right now, a small life needed him, and that was all that mattered. Tikri chirped softly and closed its eyes, finally resting peacefully for the first time in days. Doyen stayed right there beside it, keeping watch through the night while the morning sky sat docked at Kelvar Prime Station, and the stars turned slowly beyond the windows. 3 days into the journey to Tarsus 7, Doyen realized that Tikri was not an ordinary creature, not even close. The first sign came on the second morning. Doyen woke up to find Tikri sitting on his chest, staring at his face with those intelligent golden eyes. When he said good morning, Tikri made a sound that was almost like an echo of his words. Not perfect, but close enough to be startling. Did you just try to talk? Doyen asked, sitting up. Tikri tilted its head and chirped. Then it made another sound, and this time Doyen was sure. It sounded like mourning, broken and high-pitched, but definitely an attempt at speech. Hari, Doyen called out. You need to see this. By the time Hari came running from the cockpit, Tikri had crawled up to Doyen's shoulder. The creature was already twice the size it had been when he found it. Its scales were now brilliant purple and silver, shimmering like oil on water. The fever was completely gone, replaced by what seemed like boundless energy. What's wrong? Hari asked, looking worried. Watch, Doyen said. He pointed at Tikri. Can you say Hari? Tikri looked at Hari and made a sound. Hari! Hari's mouth fell open. That's not possible. Mimicry at this level requires... She stopped and stared at Tikri. What exactly are you? Over the next day, Tikri's abilities became even more obvious. The creature learned its name quickly and would come when called. It understood simple commands like stay and come here. More impressively, it seemed to understand the concept of doors. Doyen watched as Tikri stood in front of the cabin door, looked at the control panel and chirped until someone opened it. It's problem-solving, Hari said, making notes on her datapad. Real problem-solving, not just instinct. Doyen, this level of intelligence, it's rare. Very rare. Have you found anything in the databases? Doyen asked. Hari shook her head. Nothing matches exactly. But there are gaps in the database. Whole species that don't share their information with the galactic community. Tikri could be one of those. Why would someone abandon something this smart? I don't know, Hari said slowly. But I'm starting to think we should be careful. If Tikri is valuable, someone might come looking. Doyen picked up Tikri, who immediately curled against his chest. Then we'll protect it. Simple as that. On the third day, Tikri saved the ship. It happened in the middle of the sleep cycle. Doyen was dreaming about home when he heard a loud, distressed chirping. He jerked awake to find Tikri standing on his chest, making urgent sounds and pawing at his shirt. What? What is it? Doyen mumbled. Tikri jumped off the bunk and ran to the door. It chirped loudly, insistently, until Doyen followed. The creature led him straight to the engine room where warning lights were starting to flash on the main panel. Hurry! Doyen shouted, checking the readings. We've got a coolant leak. Harry came running, still half asleep. Together they worked to seal the leak before it could damage the engine core. It took 20 minutes of frantic work, but they managed to fix it. When it was done, Doyen slumped against the wall, his heart still racing. How did Tikri know? The alarm hadn't even triggered yet. Hari was looking at Tikri with new respect. I don't know. Maybe it heard something we couldn't, or felt the temperature change. Whatever it did, it just saved us from being stranded in deep space. From that moment on, Hari stopped complaining about Tikri. The creature had earned its place on the morning sky. When they finally reached Tarsus 7, the mining colony looked exactly like every other mining colony Doyen had ever seen. A collection of domed habitats on a rocky planet with an atmosphere that would kill you in minutes. Not pretty, but functional. They docked at the main station and went through the usual customs checks. Doyen kept Tikri hidden in a carrier, covered with a blanket. The customs officer barely glanced at them before waving them through. We need to deliver the cargo first, Hari said. Then we can find someone to look at Tikri. I contacted a xenobiologist who works here. Her name is Sola. She agreed to meet us. The cargo delivery went smoothly. Hyun, their contact at the colony, signed for the supplies and transferred their payment without any problems. He was a gruff man who didn't talk much, which suited Doyen just fine. Lee Sola was waiting for them at the research outpost, a small building on the edge of the colony. She was young, probably not even 30, with bright eyes and an excited smile. When she saw Tikri, her smile grew even wider. Oh, it's beautiful, she said, gesturing for them to bring Tikri into her lab. I've never seen anything like it, may I? Doyen nodded and placed Tikri on the examination table. The creature sat calmly, seeming to understand that Sola meant no harm. Sola worked quickly, using scanners and taking samples. She measured Tikri's size, examined its scales, checked its bone structure. With each scan, her expression changed. The excitement faded, replaced by something that looked like shock. Is something wrong? Doyen asked. Sola didn't answer right away. She ran another scan, then another. Finally, she stepped back from the table and looked at Doyen with wide eyes. Where did you find this creature? She asked quietly. Kelver Prime Station. In the maintenance sector. Someone abandoned it. Are you sure? You didn't take it from somewhere? From someone? Doyen felt a flash of anger. I found it dying in the garbage. I saved its life. Why? What's wrong? Sola pulled up an image on her computer screen. It showed a creature similar to Tikri, but much larger, maybe the size of a horse. It had the same purple and silver scales, the same golden eyes, the same bone ridges on its head. This is a Velkari, Sola explained. They're one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They're also incredibly rare. They don't interact with other species much. They keep to themselves. Hari leaned closer to the screen. And you think Tikri is one of these Velkari? Not just any Velkari, Sola said. She pointed to the bone ridges on Tikri's head. See this pattern? 3 ridges with the center one higher than the others. That's the mark of the royal caste. Only members of the ruling family have this pattern. The room went silent. Doyen looked at Tikri, who was now playing with a stylus on the examination table, completely unaware of the tension in the room. You're saying Tikri is royalty? Doyen asked. I'm saying Tikri might be a member of the most powerful family in Velkari space, Sola corrected. Do you understand what this means? If word gets out that you have a Velkari royal, people will come looking. Not good people. People who see value in things like this. What should we do? Harry asked. Sola thought for a moment. The right thing would be to contact the Velkari government. Let them know you found their missing royal. But that could take weeks, and in the meantime you'd be a target. Doyen picked up Tikri, who chirped happily and nuzzled against his neck. I'm not giving Tikri to just anyone. Not until I know it's safe. Not until I know they'll take care of it. Doyen, you don't understand, Sola said urgently. The Velkari take their royals very seriously. If something happened to one, especially a young one, they would consider it an act of war. This isn't just about taking care of a pet. This is politics. Galactic politics. I don't care about politics, Doyen said firmly. I care about Tikri. I found it. I saved it. And I'm going to protect it until I know it's going home to people who will love it. Hari put her hand on his shoulder. Doyen, we need to think about this. Sola's right. This is bigger than us. Then we'll figure it out, Doyen said. He looked at Tikri, who was now making soft, content sounds. Together? But I'm not abandoning Tikri, not now. Not ever, Sola sighed. You're either very brave or very stupid. I'm not sure which. Probably both, Hari muttered. That night, Doyen couldn't sleep. He lay in his bunk with Tikri curled up next to him and thought about everything Sola had said. Royalty, politics, war. These were things he'd never wanted to be involved in. He was just a cargo pilot. He hauled supplies from one place to another and tried to make enough money to keep flying. But when he looked at Tikri, sleeping peacefully for the first time since he'd found it, he knew he'd made the right choice. Whatever came next, whatever trouble this brought, he wouldn't change what he'd done. Tikri chirped softly in its sleep and gripped his shirt with one small hand. And Doyen made a promise to the sleeping creature beside him. He would keep it safe, no matter what. The trouble arrived exactly 3 days after Sola examined Tikri. Doyen was in the colony's marketplace buying supplies for the next cargo run when he heard the whispers. People were staring at him. Some pointed. Others quickly looked away when he met their eyes. What's going on? He asked Hari, who was checking prices on her datapad. I don't know, she said, frowning. But I don't like it. They hurried back to the research outpost where they'd been staying. Sola met them at the door, her face pale and worried. You need to leave, she said quickly. Now, there are people asking about you. About a human with an unusual creature. What kind of people? Doyen asked. The dangerous kind. Sola pulled them inside and locked the door. Someone leaked information about Tikri. Now there are bounty hunters, smugglers, and who knows what else arriving at the colony. They're all looking for you, Hari cursed. How did they find out? Does it matter? Sola said. They know, and they're coming. As if to prove her point, alarms started blaring throughout the colony. Red warning lights flashed in the corridors. What is that? Doyen asked. Sola checked her computer. Security breach. Someone's forcing their way into the research sector. She looked at them with frightened eyes. They're coming here. Doyen ran to the room where he'd left Tikri. The creature was awake, standing in the middle of the room with its scales flickering rapidly between colors. It was agitated, making low growling sounds Doyen had never heard before. It's okay, Doyen said softly, picking up Tikri. I've got you. The door to the outpost shook. Someone was trying to break through. Sola activated the security locks, but everyone knew it wouldn't hold for long. Is there another way out? Hari asked. Service tunnel, Sola said, pointing to a panel in the floor. It leads to the maintenance section. You can reach the docking bay from there. The main door shook again, harder this time. Metal groaned. Go, Sola shouted. I'll try to slow them down. What about you? Doyen asked. I'll be fine. They don't want me. They want Tikri. Now go. Hari pulled up the floor panel, revealing a narrow tunnel. She climbed down first, then Doyen followed with Tikri held tight against his chest. The creature was trembling now, its eyes wide. They crawled through the tunnel in darkness. Behind them, they heard the main door finally give way. Shouting voices echoed through the outpost. Faster, Hari urged. The tunnel seemed to go on forever. Doyen's knees hurt from crawling on metal grating. His heart pounded. Tikri made frightened chirping sounds that broke his heart. Almost there, Hari said. She reached the end of the tunnel and pushed open another panel. They emerged in a maintenance corridor. The docking bay was just ahead, but they weren't alone. 6 figures blocked their path. They wore mismatched armor and carried weapons that looked expensive and illegal. Mercenaries. The leader stepped forward, a tall man with scars across his face. That's far enough, he said. His voice was rough, like broken glass. Give us the creature and you can walk away. No, Doyen said simply. The mercenary smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. You don't understand. We're being paid a lot of money for that thing. We can do this easy or we can do this hard. We're not giving you Tikri, Doyen said firmly. The mercenary's smile disappeared. He raised his weapon. Hard way, then. That's when Tikri screamed. It wasn't a chirp or a growl. It was a piercing shriek that seemed to bypass Doyen's ears and go straight into his brain. The sound was so loud, so painful, that everyone in the corridor dropped to their knees, covering their ears. The mercenaries' weapons sparked and died. The lights flickered. Even Hari was on the ground, her face twisted in pain. But Doyen felt nothing. The sound that was destroying everyone else's hearing didn't affect him at all. He looked down at Tikri in amazement. The creature's mouth was open, still producing that terrible shriek. But its eyes were focused on the mercenaries. Tikri was protecting him. Security forces arrived moments later, led by a stern-looking man named Minho. He was the colony's security chief, and he looked very unhappy about mercenaries attacking people in his station. "What's going on here?" Minho demanded. The mercenaries, still recovering from Tikri's scream, tried to explain. They claimed they had salvage rights to lost property. They said Doyen had stolen something valuable. "Is this true?" Minho asked Doyen. "I found Tikri abandoned and dying," Doyen said. "I saved its life." "That's not stealing." Minho looked at Tikri, who had stopped screaming and was now clinging to Doyen like a scared child. "And what exactly is this creature?" Before Doyen could answer, a new voice spoke up. "That's what I'd like to know." A woman stepped forward. She was young, with a camera drone floating beside her shoulder. "I'm Jiwoo," she said. "I'm a journalist, and I've been investigating something very interesting." Minho frowned. "This is a security matter, not a news story." "Oh, but it is," Jiwoo said. She pulled up a holographic display from her datapad. 3 months ago, a diplomatic vessel was attacked near the Kelvar system. The ship belonged to the Velkari. All crew were presumed lost. She paused, including their queen and her newly hatched offspring. The corridor went silent. Everyone stared at Tikri. "You're saying this creature is the Velkari heir?" Minho asked slowly. "I'm saying it's possible," Jiwoo said. "And if it is, then this is the biggest story in the galaxy right now." The mercenary leader struggled to his feet. "Even more reason to hand it over. We were hired to retrieve valuable property. We're just doing our job. Who hired you?" Minho demanded. The mercenary hesitated. "That's confidential." "Not anymore," Minho said. He gestured to his security team. "Take them into custody. We'll sort this out properly." As the mercenaries were led away, Jiwoo approached Doyen. "Can I ask you some questions? The galaxy needs to know what happened here." Doyen looked at Tikri, then at Jiwoo. "Will it help keep Tikri safe?" "Maybe," Jiwoo said honestly. "If people know the truth, that you saved a dying child, not stole a valuable prize, it might change how they see this situation." So Doyen told his story. How he found Tikri dying in the garbage. How he nursed it back to health. How the creature had become part of his family. Jiwoo recorded everything, her camera drone capturing every word. Later, in the security office, Minho sat down with Doyen and Hari. Tikri was asleep in Doyen's arms, exhausted from using its defensive scream. "We have a problem," Minho said. "Those mercenaries won't be the last. If word is out that you have the Velkari heir, more will come. Worse ones?" "What do you suggest?" Hari asked. Minho thought for a moment. "The Velkari are notoriously private. They don't maintain embassies in most systems, but I can put out a message through official channels. Let them know their heir might be alive. How long will that take?" Doyen asked. "Weeks, maybe months." Minho looked at Tikri. "In the meantime, you're not safe here. This colony can't protect you from serious threats." "Then we'll leave," Doyen said. "We'll take Tikri somewhere safe and wait for the Velkari to respond." "Where will you go?" Minho asked. "I don't know yet," Doyen admitted. "But anywhere is better than staying here as targets." Minho nodded slowly. "I can give you a security escort to your ship, and I'll do what I can to delay anyone following you. But after that, you're on your own." That night, as they prepared the morning sky for departure, Jiwoo came to see them one last time. "My report is going out tonight," she said. "The whole galaxy will know what you did, that you saved a dying child when no one else would. Will that help?" Hari asked. "I hope so," Jiwoo said. "But be careful. Not everyone will see it the way we do. Some will see opportunity. Others will see a threat. The Velkari are powerful, and powerful families have enemies. We'll be careful," Doyen promised. As Jiwoo left, Doyen sat in the cockpit with Tikri on his lap. The creature was growing fast. It was already the size of a large dog, and it seemed to get bigger every day. But it was still a child, still vulnerable, still needing protection. What have we gotten ourselves into? Harry asked, sitting in the co-pilot's seat. I don't know, Doyun said honestly. He looked at Tikri, who chirped softly and nuzzled his hand. But I can't regret it. Look at Tikri, it's alive because we cared. How can that be wrong? It's not wrong, Hari said quietly. But it might be dangerous. Then we'll be dangerous too, Doyun said. He started the pre-flight sequence. We'll protect Tikri, whatever it takes. The morning sky lifted off from Tarsus 7 an hour later, heading into deep space with no clear destination. Behind them, the colony's lights grew smaller. Ahead, the stars stretched endlessly. Tikri pressed against the window, watching the stars with curious eyes. Doyun wondered what the creature was thinking. Did it remember its mother? Did it understand it was royalty? Did it know that its survival had already changed the galaxy? Probably not. Right now, Tikri was just a child, fascinated by the stars and happy to be safe. And Doyun was determined to keep it that way for as long as he could. The journey to Velkari space took 2 weeks, and every day brought new dangers. The morning sky was pursued 3 times by ships trying to intercept them. Each time they barely escaped, using asteroid fields and debris clouds to hide. On the 4th day, a human naval ship appeared on their scanners. Harry tensed, expecting another attack, but the ship hailed them with a peaceful signal. This is Captain Sujin of the Resolute, a woman's voice said over the comm. We've been ordered to provide escort. Earth Command believes protecting the Velkari air is in humanity's best interests. Doyun felt relief wash over him. We accept your escort, Captain. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Sujin said. We've got a long way to go, and half the galaxy seems interested in you. Captain Sujin was a stern woman in her 40s with gray hair and sharp eyes. When she came aboard the morning sky to meet them, she looked exactly like what she was. A career military officer who took her duty seriously. Let me see the creature, she said. Doyun brought Tikri out. The creature was now the size of a young deer with scales that shimmered brilliantly. It had learned to make more sounds and could even say a few simple words. Doyun came out clearly now. Hari was still a work in progress. Sujin studied Tikri carefully. It looks healthy. It is now, Doyun said. It wasn't when I found it. I read the reports, Sujin said. She looked at Doyun with something that might have been respect. You did a good thing. Not many people would have stopped to help. I'm just a cargo pilot, Doyun said. I don't understand why this is so important to Earth Command. Because humanity is still new to the galactic community, Sujin explained. We're not the strongest species. We're not the smartest. We're not the richest. But if we can prove we're trustworthy, that we have honor, that matters. You saving the Velkari air shows what humans are capable of. I just saved a sick kid, Doyun said quietly. Exactly, Sujin said. That's what makes it meaningful. The Resolute stayed with them as they continued toward Velkari space. Other ships joined them, some friendly, some not. Word had spread across the galaxy that the lost Velkari air was alive, and everyone wanted to see it. On the 10th day, they reached the border of Velkari space. What waited for them there made Doyun's blood run cold. At least 50 ships filled the space ahead. Some belonged to different species governments. Others were clearly military vessels. All of them were waiting. This is bad, Hari said, staring at the display. Captain Sujin's voice came over the comm. Stay calm. We're trying to establish communications with the Velkari government. But it wasn't the government that responded first. A massive ship appeared, its hull decorated with symbols that hurt to look at directly. From it came a transmission. I am High Counselor Tishen, a translated voice said. I represent the Provisional Velkari government. You will surrender the royal offspring immediately. Before Doyun could respond, another ship pushed forward. This one was even larger, with weapons that glowed with barely contained energy. I am Lord Vikor, a different voice said. As the highest-ranking noble still living, custody of the air belongs to me. You will transfer it to my ship at once. Doyun looked at Tikri, who was pressed against him, trembling. The creature seemed to sense the tension. I'm not giving Tikri to anyone I don't trust, Doyun said firmly. You don't have a choice, human, Vikor said. That creature is Velkari property. You have no claim to it. Actually, he might, Sujin said. She had been doing research. According to Velkari law, which I've been studying, there's something called the Guardian Bond. What's that? Doyun asked. In Velkari culture, Sujin explained, when a royal hatchling bonds with someone who saves its life, That person becomes its guardian. It's a sacred bond that can't be broken. Chen's voice came back, sounding strained. That law applies only to Velkari guardians. This human has no right. The law doesn't specify species, Sujin interrupted. I checked. It says, the first being to save a royal hatchling's life and earn its trust becomes guardian. Doyen saved Tikri. Tikri trusts him. By your own laws, he has rights here. Silence filled the comm channels. Then Vikor spoke, his voice cold with anger. Impossible. This is a trick. The human manipulated the hatchling. Did you manipulate Tikri? Sujin asked Doyen quietly. No, Doyen said. I just helped it. That's all. Then you're the guardian, Sujin said. And these people can't just take Tikri from you. The standoff continued for hours. Ships moved into position. Weapons charged. It seemed like any moment violence would break out. Then a new ship arrived. It was different from all the others. Larger, more elegant. Its hull was the same purple and silver as Tikri's scales, and when it appeared, every other Velkari ship immediately backed away. What is that? Harry whispered. The answer came in a voice that made Tikri jump up, chirping frantically. I am Velsara, the voice said, Queen of the Velkari, and I have come for my child. Doyen's heart nearly stopped. The Queen, alive. But Jiwoo's report had said she was dead. My Queen, Chen said, his voice shaking. You thought I was dead, Velsara said. That is what they wanted you to think. But I survived. I have been searching for my offspring for 3 months. And now I have found it. Your Majesty, Vikor said, his tone suddenly respectful. I was preparing to protect the heir in your absence, were you? Velsara's voice could have cut steel. Or were you preparing to claim the throne yourself? Silence again. A very different kind of silence. I want to meet the human who saved my child, Velsara said. Bring him to my ship. Captain Sujin looked at Doyen. You don't have to go. We can protect you. No, Doyen said. He picked up Tikri, who was making urgent sounds. Tikri wants to see its mother. I won't keep them apart. The transfer was arranged quickly. Doyun, Hari, and Captain Sujin took a shuttle to the Queen's ship. Security was everywhere, but none of the guards tried to stop them. They were led to a massive chamber. And there, waiting for them, was Velsara. She was enormous. At least 3 times the size of a horse, with scales that seemed to contain galaxies. Her eyes were the same golden color as Tikri's, but older, wiser, and filled with pain that hadn't fully healed. When she saw Tikri, she made a sound that was both heartbreaking and joyful. And Tikri, without hesitation, jumped from Doyen's arms and ran to its mother. They touched heads, making sounds Doyen couldn't understand. Velsara wrapped her tail around her child, holding it close. For a long moment, there was nothing but reunion. Then Velsara turned her attention to Doyen. She approached him slowly, and Doyen had to fight the urge to run. She was terrifying up close, all power and ancient strength. But when she reached him, she did something Doyen never expected. She lowered her massive head and touched it gently to his chest. Thank you, she said, her translated voice thick with emotion. You saved my child when I could not. You gave it life when it should have died. This debt can never be repaid. I don't need repayment, Doyen said quietly. I'm just glad Tikri is home. Tikri? Velsara raised her head. You name my child? Yes, Doyen said. I'm sorry. I didn't know. No, Velsara said. The name is good. Tikri, yes, it suits my child well. She straightened and looked at Chen and Vikor, who had been brought to the chamber. Now, let us discuss who tried to murder me and my child. What followed was a revelation. Velsara explained how her ship had been attacked by traitors within her own government. Vikor had led the conspiracy, wanting to end the royal line and rule through a council of nobles. The attack had been brutal. Most of her crew had died. She had been left for dead. But Velsara had survived, badly wounded and alone. She had spent months recovering and searching for Tikri, believing her child had been taken by the conspirators. She never imagined that Tikri had been abandoned like garbage. Why throw away a royal heir? Doyen asked. Because a dead heir causes war, Velsara said. A missing heir causes confusion. They wanted chaos, not martyrdom. Vikor tried to defend himself. He made excuses. He blamed others. But the evidence was clear. Security forces arrested him and his co-conspirators on the spot. Then Velsara turned back to Doyen. There is one more matter to address. The Guardian Bond, Your Majesty, Chen said nervously. Surely you don't intend— I intend to follow our laws, Velsera said firmly. Doyen of Earth saved my child's life. Tikri has bonded with him. By our most ancient laws, he is guardian until Tikri reaches maturity. But he's human, Chen protested. And? Velsera looked at him coldly. Do our laws specify species? They do not. Doyen is guardian. This is decided, she looked at Doyen. This means you have responsibilities and rights. You must help guide my child. Teach it, protect it. In return, you have my protection, my gratitude, and a place in our court for as long as you live. Doyen looked at Tikri, who was watching him with those familiar golden eyes. I don't know anything about being a guardian to royalty. You know the most important thing, Velsera said gently. You know how to care for a child who needs you. The rest we can teach. And so it was decided. Doyen, a simple cargo pilot, became guardian prime to the Velkari heir. His life would never be simple again. The ceremony took place 3 days later. Doyen stood in the grand hall of the Velkari royal palace, wearing clothes that someone had insisted were appropriate for the occasion. They felt strange and uncomfortable, but he wore them anyway. Tikri stood beside him, now wearing ceremonial bands around its neck and tail. The hatchling had grown even more in the past few days, now reaching up to Doyen's waist. But it still acted like a child, curious and playful and completely unaware of how important it was. Velsera spoke to the assembled crowd in her own language first, her voice echoing through the hall. Then she switched to translated speech so Doyen could understand. Today we recognize what has already occurred, she said. Doyen of Earth saved my child when no Velkari could. He asked for nothing. He expected nothing. He simply saw a life that needed saving and acted with compassion. This is the highest virtue any being can possess. She gestured for Doyen to approach. He walked forward, feeling hundreds of eyes watching him. When he reached the queen, she placed something around his neck, a chain with a crystal that glowed softly purple. This marks you as guardian prime, she said. You have authority to speak for my child until maturity. You have protection under Velkari law, and you have our eternal gratitude. The crowd made sounds that Doyen assumed meant approval. Tikri chirped happily and pressed against his leg. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Doyen found himself surrounded by important people from dozens of different species. Everyone wanted to meet the human who had saved the Velkari heir. You've become quite famous, a voice said beside him. Doyen turned to see Ambassador Daehyun, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. He was an older man with calculating eyes and a politician's smile. I don't want to be famous, Doyen said. I just want Tikri to be safe. Well, you've certainly accomplished that, Daehyun said. And you've done something else too. You've changed how the galaxy sees humanity. They used to think we were just aggressive newcomers trying to grab power. Now they see us as beings of compassion. Do you know how valuable that is? I didn't do it for Earth, Doyen said. I did it because it was right. I know, Daehyun said. That's exactly why it matters. Later, Doyen found himself alone with Velsera in a quiet room. Tikri was playing with some kind of glowing toy, making happy sounds. Are you angry that I bonded with your child? Doyen asked. Velsera considered the question. At first, perhaps, I felt complicated emotions. Tikri is my only offspring. The thought of sharing that bond was difficult. She paused. But then I watched you with my child. I saw how Tikri looks at you, how you protect it without thought for yourself. And I understood. Understood what? That love is not diminished by being shared, Velsera said. Tikri loves me as its mother, but it also loves you as its savior and guardian. Both bonds are real. Both matter. And because of your bond, my child is alive. How could I be angry about that? What happens now? Doyen asked. Now we rebuild, Velsera said. The conspirators are being dealt with. New counselors must be chosen. And Tikri must learn what it means to be royal. She looked at Doyen. That is where you are needed. I can teach my child about being Velkari, but you can teach something equally important, compassion beyond one's own species. Understanding that all life has value. These are things Tikri learned from you. I don't know if I can live in a palace, Doyen said honestly. I'm used to my ship, to space, to freedom. Then we will find a balance, Velsera said. You need not stay always. But you must visit. Teach Tikri, guide it. That is all I ask. It seemed like a fair arrangement. Doyen agreed. The trouble came later that evening. Security alarms blared through the palace. Vicor's remaining supporters had launched a desperate attack, trying to assassinate both Velsara and Tikri. They believed that without the royal line, they could still seize power. The attack was fierce. The conspirators had brought powerful weapons and were willing to die for their cause. The royal guards fought back, but the attackers pushed toward the royal chambers where Tikri was sleeping. Doyen heard the fighting and ran. He didn't have weapons. He didn't have armor. He just ran toward Tikri because that's where he was needed. He reached the chamber just as 3 attackers broke through the door. They saw Tikri sleeping in the corner and raised their weapons. Doyen threw himself between them and Tikri. He felt the impact of the energy blast hit his chest. Pain exploded through his body. He fell, but he didn't die. Tikri woke up. And what happened next would be talked about for generations. The hatchling unleashed power that no one knew it possessed. Not the piercing scream from before, but something far greater. A wave of pure psychic energy that swept through the palace like a storm. Every attacker, every conspirator, every hostile presence was knocked unconscious in an instant. The power was so great that beings on ships orbiting the planet felt it. It was the power of a Velkari royal in its full fury, and it had been triggered by the sight of Doyun being hurt. When Velsara arrived moments later, she found Doyun on the ground, injured, but alive. Tikri was curled around him, making distress sounds, trying to protect him even though the danger was over. "Foolish human," Velsara said, but her voice was gentle.
She called for medical help.
"You could have died." "Tikri needed me," Doyen said weakly. "That's all that matters." The palace healers worked on Doyen for hours. The injury was serious but not fatal. He would recover. When he woke up 3 days later, Tikri was lying next to his bed, refusing to leave. "Hey, little one," Doyen said softly. Tikri made a happy sound and carefully nuzzled his hand, being gentle because he was still healing. Velsara visited him daily during his recovery. On the 5th day, she brought news. "The last of the conspirators have been captured," she said. "The danger is over, and the entire Velkari people have seen what you did, how you threw yourself in front of death to save my child. There is no one, not even the most traditional elder, who questions your right to be Guardian Prime now." "I didn't do it for recognition," Doyen said. "I know," Velsara said. "That is precisely why you have it." The broadcasts of Doyun's sacrifice had spread across the galaxy. Humanity's reputation soared. Other species looked at humans with new respect. Earth's ambassador reported that trade agreements and diplomatic relations were improving dramatically. But Doyen didn't care about any of that. He just cared that Tikri was safe. 6 months passed. Doyen returned to his ship, but it was different now. The morning sky had been upgraded with Velkari technology. It had diplomatic protections, and it had a new crew member. Minho had retired from Tarsus 7 Security to become Doyun's head of security. Hari was still there, of course. She'd been offered positions with major corporations, but she turned them all down. "Someone has to keep you out of trouble," she said. Doyen split his time between space and the palace. When he was in space doing cargo runs and exploring, Tikri stayed with Velsara, learning royal duties. When he visited the palace, Tikri would race to meet him, now the size of a pony but still acting like an excited child. One evening, Doyen sat in the palace gardens with Tikri. The hatchling was learning to read Velkari texts, but Doyen was teaching it something else, a simple Earth card game. "No, you can't play that card yet," Doyen explained patiently. "See, you need to wait for the right moment." Tikri grumbled but took the card back. It was learning not just Velkari wisdom but human patience and strategy too. Velsara watched from the doorway, her expression amused. "You are teaching the future ruler of the Velkari to play children's games." "I'm teaching Tikri to think ahead and be patient," Doyen corrected. "Those are good skills for a ruler, right?" "Indeed they are," Velsara agreed. She joined them in the garden. "Doyen, I have been thinking. You have given my people something precious." "I just saved Tikri," Doyen said, uncomfortable with praise as always. "You did more than that," Velsara said. "You showed us that honor and kindness exist beyond our own species. For centuries, we Velkari have been isolated, trusting only ourselves. We believed we were above the other species, but you proved that wisdom and compassion can come from anywhere, from anyone." She paused. "Even from a simple cargo pilot who saw a dying child and chose to help." Doyen felt his face get warm. Anyone would have done the same. No, Velsara said gently. They would not. That is what makes you special. Tikri looked up from the cards and made a sound. Doyun special, it said in halting speech. Doyun best. Both Velsara and Doyun laughed. Tikri's language skills were improving every day. As the sun set on the Velkari homeworld, painting the sky in shades of purple and silver, Doyun felt a sense of peace. His life had changed in ways he never imagined. He was guardian prime to an alien royal. He was a diplomat whether he wanted to be or not. He was famous across the galaxy. But when he looked at Tikri happily playing cards and chirping with joy, he knew one thing for certain. He would do it all again. Every danger, every sacrifice, every challenge, because he had carried a sick hatchling in his arms, unaware he had a queen beside him. And in doing so, he had found a family across the stars. The card game continued as the stars came out, one by one, lighting up the eternal darkness of space. And in that moment, a human and two Velkari sat together in peace, proving that the strongest bonds in the universe are not made by force or politics or power,